welcome back to Toyota Sports Talk. You know, we've been talking a lot about the NFL, the NBA, the NHL starting soon, but we can't forget about Major League Baseball. Yeah, it's been kind of not been a good year for the Washington Nationals, but I still got to bring in my guy, Jake Russell, the Washington Post. Jake, how are you?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
Good, hanging in there, hanging in there. Final couple weeks of the Major League Baseball season. The Nats kind of just playing out the string here. What do you make of what they've done in the past couple of weeks, past month?
Well, they showed some signs of progress with winning a couple series in a row, but yeah, it's been a tough battle for them. They just don't have the talent there. What they've been doing since August is just seeing what they have on their roster, seeing if there's any hope or potential for next season. Seeing if there's any kind of young talent, young little pieces of gold they can unearth and have starting on their roster next season. So far, they've had a couple shining pieces like Joey Meneses has been a nice story so far with his performance after spending a decade in the minors. C.J. Abrams has started to look a little more comfortable at shortstop after getting just consistent starts night in and night out after spending a brief stint in AAA Rochester before they called him up. Right now, all they're doing is just seeing who they have for to compete for a roster spot next season.
You mentioned, figuring out what they have for the future. Do you see hope with this franchise, or do you think this is going to be a relatively long process?
Long term, yes. Next season, it's going to be rough again. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
Watch them win the division after me saying this, though.
Yeah.
Everything revolves around me and my predictions, of course.
Right.
They're gonna watch this tape and say, "Oh, Jake said that."
Jake, they're gonna put that on the bulletin board. You're done for now.
Exactly. Next season is going to be difficult. I don't see a path for them getting any marquee free agents because, every free agent and their agents are going to, advise them on the possible teams they could sign with. And the Nats don't have a very high ceiling for the 2023 season. So I don't see them making any marquee moves. What I see them doing right now is continuing to assess their young players, seeing if there are any young, cheap talent in the offseason that they can add and build to the young core that they have. And then maybe in preparation for the 2024 season, maybe add some veteran talent to mix in with the young players that they have. And maybe that might be the season they take that next step up. But for the next, 12, 15 months or so, it's going to be quite the bumpy road, as Davey Martinez would say. But maybe for them, it'll lead to a beautiful place again. We'll see in a couple years.
Jake, it's a small sample size, but right now Mike Rizzo looks like a genius because Juan Soto is struggling with the Padres. Bell hasn't been that great. I know the GM of the Padres is getting a lot of heat. So far, so good in that return.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Nats fans aren't really hoping for Juan Soto to do terribly, but if that was the case, which it is now, right now, he's not performing up to his standards. They're thinking, yeah, the Nats got a decent return on their investment so far for what they acquired or for what they shipped them out for.
Your colleague Jesse Doherty last week had a good article on Stephen Strasburg. I'm worried about him, Jake. I definitely don't think we're going to see the Stephen Strasburg of old. What do you think of that situation?
I think Jesse did a great job getting Stephen to talk, and compared to the average Bear, it wasn't the most, it wasn't anything outlandish or anything crazy, but for him, he opened up more personally than I really recall him ever saying. And to me, that tells me he even sees that's kind of close to the end of the road for his career, which I don't think that's a terrible thing. And it's also just you thinking back in terms of his career, saying, this guy was the number 1 overall pick. He came in just like a bolt of lightning right away with 14 strikeouts in his first career start. And he showed glimpses of what kind of Hall of Fame career he could potentially have. But just over the course of his career, and especially the last 3 seasons, he's just been derailed by injuries. And it just makes you think, what if he had been healthy the last 3 years? What if he had lived up to that 7-year, $245 million contract he signed after winning the World Series MVP? What if all this potential had been reached? And right now, it just does not look like there's any pathway for him to having a fully healthy season or a fully healthy career the rest of the way. And that's really disappointing. It's as someone who enjoys watching sports, you want to see the best out there. And I can only imagine how frustrating it is for him, someone who is as competitive as he is, and someone who is, takes the game as seriously as he does. I can only imagine what he's thinking, just having to sit back and watch the team every single night, and him knowing he's not able to go out there and pitch. That has to be extremely frustrating. And, hopefully for him, at some point, he, gets the rehab he needs, and he gets his arm right, and he actually goes out on the mound and feels correct from every start forward. But I'm not optimistic that that's going to happen. But hopefully for his sake, he does, get it together, and he can stay on the mound for extended periods of time.
Yeah, I would love for him to walk away from the game on his terms. I think that's so important, to being able to go out there and maybe finish a season or finish a couple of years on his terms, injury free. That's certainly all we can hope for. Jake Russell, one more thing, your book, The Nationals, National Fans, what is it?
It's called 100 Things Nationals Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. The latest edition is the World Series Updated Edition. It's been available for a couple of years, and if you don't have it yet, shame on you. Just kidding. There's a chance to redeem yourself. Go to jakerussellsports.com, click on the Nationals book tab, and order 1, order 10, order 100, order 1,000, please. So if you order from there, you'll get autographed copy. It'll be shipped within 24 hours. So treat yourselves, Nats fans.
I would love to see you autograph 1,000 copies in a row.
Me too.
I love that. All right, Jake, I always appreciate your time, buddy.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, much more to come right here on Toyota Sports Talk. Stay with us.